Ever wondered how the Saudi intervention at Yemen started? The root cause of the intervention goes back to the civil war in July 2011. The former president of Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, and his government has been ousted after 30 years in power and forced to hand over its power to his deputy, Abdurrabbuh Mansur Hadi. In 2014, the conflict began to take place when the Houthi rebellion forces, or officially Ansarullah, took control over the government in Sana'a, the capital city of Yemen. Hadi then sought Saudi's assistance in order to regain democracy in Yemen. The Saudi, together with other countries, joined forces to fight against the imbalance made by the Houthis. The intervention turned civil war has raised three main issues. 1. The legality of the Saudi intervention in Yemen. 2. Whether the intervention was to strengthen Saudi Arabia. And 3. The aftermath of the intervention.
Article 2 of the United Nations Charter mentioned that all members shall refrain their international relations from the threat of use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purpose of the United Nations. However, under Article 51, certain exceptions which the United members are allowed to use force upon any other state with the objective of self-defense. The action of military activities of one state is another foreign territory which was entered upon invitation was mainly discussed in the case of Nicaragua versus United States of America, as well as in the case of Democratic Republic of Congo versus Uganda, where the International Court of Justice held in both of the cases where, regardless of the existence of a valid consent by a state to the commission of a given act by another state, would definitely preclude the wrongfulness of that act in relation to the former state to the extent that the act remains within the limit of the consent. Although the International Court of Justice itself held as such, it is a common norm where the state enjoys an ultimate right upon its own sovereignty, and such general prohibition would contravene the right of sovereignty would carry upon a state. Now, was the intervention legitimate? We found out that the intervention was firstly legitimate and legal, as the use of force upon Yemen was the one made through an open door. However, in the bigger picture, the war had caused great misery to humanity, nothing but death, sorrow, and destruction.
Bab el-Mandeb. The two Mohd Straits serve as an important connector for all tankers and other ships, connecting the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and Arabian Sea. All tankers and freighters rely on the canal to conserve time and energy for efficient shipping. However, under the Houthis' control, no one dares to pass through it. Saudi Arabia is believed to risk to its notable advantage, especially given that a significant number of its oil area are in the south of the region, closer to Yemen. The Iran-Saudi Arabia proxy warfare is an extensive discussion. The Yemen proxy war started in 2014 when the Houthi joined other Shia rebels with connections to Iran, ascended against the Sunni government, assumed responsibility for Yemen's capital and biggest city, Sana'a. In January 2015, they drove President Abdurrabbuh Mansur Hadi and his government to leave. Hadi sought help from the Saudis. Not long after, Hadi revoked his resignation and came back to Aden in September 2015, and battling has proceeded since. A United Nations assertion to handle harmony talks between partnered Houthi rebels and the globally perceived Yemeni government slowed down in the late spring of 2016. As of December 2017, Hadi has supposedly been dwelling estranged abroad in Saudi Arabia.
There are several factors that widened these political divisions and led to full-scale military conflict. Firstly, subsidies backfired. Under the pressure from the International Monetary Fund, which had stretched out to Yemen a $550 million advance preface on promises of financial reformation, Hadi's government lifted fuel subsidy in July 2014. The Houthis sorted out mass fights requesting lower fuel costs and another government. Next, the Houthi takeover of the region. The Houthis got a lot of Sana'a by mid-September 2014, reneging on a UN harmony bargain handled that month. They solidified control of the capital and proceeded with their southward movement. Hadi's government surrendered under pressure in January 2015 and Hadi then fled to Saudi Arabia. In addition, the military division, whereas military units who are faithful to Saleh adjusted themselves to the Houthis, adding to their frontline movement. Different state armies prepared against the Houthi Saleh powers, lining up with those in the military who had stayed faithful to the Hadi government. Southern region increased their calls for withdrawal. These said factors strengthened that Saudi Arabia came with an obvious agenda to conquer Yemen and the Middle East.
Yemen was already in a bad shape before the intervention and went to unimaginable lengths after the interventions. Millions of lives were at stake. As UNHCR reported, 80% Yemenis are in dire need of humanitarian aid, roughly 24 million. Food has been scarce and famine is on the rise. There is no safe drinking water, no sanitation. Healthcare is practically impossible. Doctors could no longer do medication. The UN also reported there are only 10 healthcare workers for 10,000 Yemenis. As of today, 6.7 million Yemenis are in need of urgent shelter and essential household items. 4.3 million Yemenis have fled the country. Meanwhile, 3.3 million are internally displaced. Education has been abandoned, schools are unsafe, and teachers are unpaid. Many are deprived from the access to knowledge. Employment is little to non-existent. Though many organizations are finding ways to create opportunities, war is still happening today, making the process even more difficult.
The Saudi intervention in Yemen illustrated the implementation of international law and how the use of force may be used by states when there are no good solutions to be found. It is proven the use of force towards other states is permissible as the last resort to overcome deadlock situations. However, only if there is reasonable cause, right intention, and all peaceful alternatives have been exhausted. The Yemen situation is a reminder to all of us that use of force in international relations must not only be a justified option, but must not be the only option. To ensure there will be no unauthorized intervention on legal grounds by a stronger, irresponsible nation which will misuse or overuse such powers. Stabilizing Yemen will be very far from impossible. The war has now become so extensive, with many nations going on for their own agendas. This leaves us, the international public, with questions for us to ponder on. Is intervention the answer? What can we do to help each other out?
Hi, my name is Nur Shafika binti Hassan.
Hi, I'm Shafika Ina.
Hi, I'm Afika.
Hi, I'm Adli Shazman. Thank you for watching.